MyColumbusPower.com, Power 107.5, DJ Giovanny in the building. And right now I got the man, the legend, Short Dog, aka Too Short in the building.
What's going on?
What's going on, man?
Good, chill.
How you feeling, man? How you feeling?
Chilling, man. Long flight. I'm fresh off the plane. I'm still, but I'm, it's always good with me.
So you, I remember you came to Columbus probably like 2-3 years ago. It was on the Scion tour, and you came with the band. Have you ever contemplated maybe just going on a whole nother tour like that, like with the folk?
I do a lot of shows with a live band, but
just like a whole tour.
Not done a tour yet, but yes. I've been actually working, getting my band together so we can get out on the road and do an extensive tour. That's the whole mission.
Okay. And I know you started Up All Night Records, which they have artists such as the Pack. Lil B right now is still one of the biggest things in hip hop right now. What's your view on what he's doing? How are you influential in his career? Let people know the tie.
B's, it's a funny thing, man, because I get the feedback from everybody how they're digesting his whole isms, and it's funny to me because when I met Lil B, he was like a little thug. He was like,
he had dreads, right?
He was dreaded up. He was, he was in jail when I met him, and he came home and he's like, first thing he ever told me when he got home, he was like, man, I never want to go to jail again. I'm gonna get my stuff together. He was only 15, 16. So the first thing I noticed about B, man, was that he actually was all the stuff that the Pack was doing. B always wrote the hooks. Young L always made the beat, but B wrote the hooks, and they all would like spit a verse. But to me, it was something about it's one guy in the group that writes the hooks. He must be, an important part of the puzzle, So I just noticed, man, we used to work in the studio. He would come to me and say stuff like, he'd be like, "Hey, man, tomorrow, can I go in the studio and freestyle an album?" I was like, what? He's like, I'm gonna go in the studio tomorrow and freestyle an album. I'm like, what does that mean? He's like, I'm gonna go in there and freestyle a whole album in one day. I'm like, okay. I don't know who freestyles the album in one day, but he was saying that at the age of 15, 16. So when I look back at it, it didn't mean much to me then. I'm looking at the youth. I was 40 years old then. I'm looking at the youth like, okay, he got a little energy, he was doing his thing. But he, it's to me, I look at Lil B like, man, here's a guy who he saw it and figured out how he wanted to get in it. And his edge, his angle is basically, I'm just gonna actually not hide my thoughts. It's like he's spilling his thoughts.
Just vomiting out thoughts.
And some people are measuring it by, this dude can't rap. But I'm telling you, if he wanted to rap, he could rap. If I wanted to be like some lyrical rapper with these metaphors, I could do that. You gotta find your thing and get your money. You know what I'm saying? He's getting his money. That's what I'm trying to say.
So with Lil B being that he's an alternative artist, you worked with Kid Sister, you worked with Khalees. You've dove into realms of music that I think a lot of people wouldn't typically associate you with.
Right.
What in the future have you thought about doing? Are you doing? Is there anything that we could look forward to?
Well, my love for music is like hip hop, is the funk bands from the 70s, Parliament Funkadelic, it's the soul music that my parents played around me when I was a little kid. It's the rock and roll that I picked up along the way. It's reggae. It's so much. I love the blues. So when I'm doing music, one of the main reasons why I started working with the band was that I always like to keep a working relationship as far as being in the studio and performing with musicians. And not just so much as producers. A lot of producers I messed with over the years, they know how to really play instruments. I'm just really into that thing because I was in the band class as a kid. So when you're dealing with musicians, one of the keyboard players that plays for me, Kev Choice, he's also an artist who raps and, does some very conscious stuff way away from what Too Short's about. And then he's a jazz musician, So it's like, at any second, we could be doing a session, and he'll just elevate the session with his keyboard knowledge. So I just feel like where I'm going with this is not so much as, it's not really about what's my next project, and it's not really about what's my next album or whatever. It's just about, I'm free now, man. I've actually laid the legacy of what I want to do. It's there. I can actually collaborate with anybody on earth. I feel like, and I don't care what language you rap in, where you're from, what your style is, if you're a singer, rapper. I can get out with a country artist at this point. I can't do any wrong.
What's been your favorite collabo? I know you've collaboed a lot, but if you can narrow it down, maybe just to a couple instead of one. What would those memorable collabos be?
My favorites have always been, the songs I do with like either Scarface or E40. I was, did a few joints with Eric Sermon back in the day. It's the people that I can get with over and over again. I mean, I was lucky to land on. I think I've been on about 2 or 3 Jay-Z albums. I might have been on 3 Jay-Z albums. I don't think anybody can really say that. I've been on a couple of Biggie albums too. So.
And you had the ill cameo in Big Pimpin'.
Exactly. So it's like it's just a flash in the video, but that was a big cameo.
It was a big cameo. Big cameo.
That shit played a lot, but basically, I cherish it, man. Just the fact that I did. These are all legends, and they say, "Too Short, you're a legend." But then these are all these legends that I work with. So it's, to me, at some point, somewhere in there, I'm like a Too Short fan a little bit too.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, that is kind of cool, on the side.
Did you ever, going back to your first album, which was released in the 80s, did you ever think it was going to last this long in 19 albums, correct? 19 full studio length albums.
Yeah.
Did you think that you were going to make 19 albums?
I can tell you, matter of fact, right here, no doubt about it, the first time they ever asked me, it was 1985, I made my first little independent album, and they asked me, what did I want to name it? And if you do the research, I said, name it Don't Stop Rapping. And they said, why? I was like, that's my motto for my career. And basically, I stood by it, man. I feel like I really admire what some of these new cats are doing, like, the Waynes and the Drakes, and, Rick Ross, and, it's a lot of folks that just keep it in your face. And I was doing that before it was, it was something you could talk about. I was doing it silently between me and me. I felt like even before I got into the professional world of releasing music, when it was just local on the streets, I felt like every time you got something that people like, as soon as it dies down a little bit, give them something else. So I would drop an album. When I was on all the years I was on Jive, I would drop an album, and I would count literally like 7, 8, 9 months, and I watch the charts, and it go up on the charts, and then it stopped dropping. As soon as it got like to where I figured it was too low, I'm back in the studio making a new album. So my thing is, when it drops off the charts, another one's coming. I think T.I. got his career going pretty quick. I know Ludacris made a lot of them real quick. Busta Rhymes hit you with a lot of them real quick. I mean, just like Rick Ross just came out. I don't know if Rick Ross got 2, 3 albums, how many mixtapes. I just know that
it's like 14, 15.
I know that he's never got out of your ears. He's been there.
Right.
From the minute he got in the door, he stayed. And I feel like a lot of our good artists that we would love for life, what happens with them is when they get that foot in the door, when they get that worldwide tour and that fame and that money, it kind of kick back a little bit. And that's the glitch right there.
So you think that people, wanting to drop one album every 2, 3 years could be the reason why a lot of these dudes are around for a minute and they're not around, the next?
Unless you got a plan, unless you Mos Def and you getting your acting on, or you Dr. Dre and 50 and Eminem.
You acted as well, correct?
I mean, but I didn't do it as a main source of income. I'm saying unless it's something financial that's drawing you away from the studio and dropping records, and you cool and you still balling and you got all your stuff. But I'm just talking about the cats who get in there, get in the door, shine, and then go away. And it's like you just went away. And I feel like I didn't want to do that. I had all the opportunity in the world to like stop rapping because of age or whatever. I just kept going.
Earlier we were talking about the Big Pimpin' cameo that you had, which also featured Pimp C. Now, you had a show with him at the House of Blues in Los Angeles 3 days before, correct?
2, 3 days before.
2, 3 days before. What was it like receiving that news about Pimp, and how do you feel his legacy's lived on?
Well, that's a tough one, man, because that was like my buddy, man. That was like my little brother, like seriously. And we waited so long for him to do those 4 years in jail and come home. And when he came home, I look at hip hop right now. Hip hop they're not nice when you go to jail and come home. It's not nice. It doesn't really open arms to you and say, hey, remember how you were right before you went to jail? You still like that? And he came home and it was like pause. He just picked it up and was popping harder than when he went in. I give a lot of credit to Bun B for that, for the Free Pimp C campaign that he said on every verse he ever spit, and he just I don't know. A lot of it I give it to Bun, but a lot of it I feel like Chad was a legend in the making at that time, and when he came home like a real OG, and he got a lot of money, did a lot of shows, had a lot more wisdom, and I was feeling, you know, the Chad that went to jail was my little wild homie who, with the temper, who just would rock the crowd, and he loved making beats, and then anytime he get in the studio, we're gonna make something hot. He was just a hothead, like he was just a wild little youngster, but he came out more mature, and I was like getting ready to really enjoy the new Chad with the wisdom. He was still a little reckless, but you know, he could go on a rant and say a bunch of wild stuff, but that's Chad. But at the same time, it never, you know, it just, I can't really grab this one, because when I kicked it with him the last time I saw him, it was the same kicking it. The talking, the laughing, you know, we planning on what we're gonna do next. It was just a lot. And we talked about, that was Saturday night I did the show. And he just grabbed the microphone, he had to turn his mic on, and he just did my show with me. Like if anybody had footage of that, he just really did my show with me, like he was, like we were in a group or some shit. And then the next day, it was Sunday, we were like, yeah, man, let's go meet, let's sit down and grab a bite to eat, you know, normal talk. And we did our little thing where we, you know, you like, all right, meet you in an hour, I'll call you an hour, and then you never do it. And then I get the call like Tuesday morning from his mother, and she was just telling me, she was like, you know, Chad checks in with me at all times about various stuff, you know, like I haven't talked to him since yesterday sometime, and just, I know her, and what was in her voice, you know, was like real serious, and I just kind of like, it wasn't long after I talked to her. I never talked to her about that, like she never called me back and said, guess what happened or nothing, but it went over the circuit, you know, the phones and stuff, and man, I don't, you know, I dealt with like, you know, stuff like Easy-E passing, like, you know, to this day, I still ask myself, you know, what happened to Easy-E, man? It was, you know, they say Easy-E died of AIDS, and then, you know, this was when it was a young concept of what that illness was, you know, and it was accepted, you know. Easy went to the hospital, a very good hospital. He went to Cedars-Sinai, said his chest was hurting or something. He was dead a few weeks later. Right. Like, I've never heard those AIDS stories. Right. That was like mid-90s, and we just went, oh, Easy, he was, you know, fucking too many bitches and he died. But I haven't heard the story about the people who go to the hospital and say my chest hurt and then you die of AIDS 3 weeks later. That, to me, you know, we're not really dwelling on that right now today, but that has always stayed in my mind, that what the fuck happened to Eazy-E? Right. And I say that about Chad, man. I'm like, what happened to Chad, man? It's just, I'm not going for the man laid on the bed in his clothes and just lay there and fell asleep and died. It won't settle with me because of what we did very recently before that incident happened, because of, you know, just the way I seen him. That's deep to me. I get real serious about that whole. I'm sure the people that love him, everybody probably saying the same thing. What really happened to Chad, man?
I think a lot of people, more than will ever know, love him. You know, UGK is one of the most influential groups in the South, period.
I did a lot of shows with UGK when they were coming up. Mm-hmm. I remember, because I've been this way with different artists where, you know, you get on the show and, you know, you start learning how to work that crowd. And the people you're on the show with, they go, ooh, when that motherfucker come out, the crowd gets moving. I saw Bun and Chad become that. I saw him become like Pocket Full of Stones to, you know, just ripping the crowd. I remember, I don't know what city we were in. We were somewhere, I could say it was St. Louis, I don't know where it was at. But they went on stage before me, and I watched them perform. And I watched everybody in the crowd. The whole crowd was singing every song word for word. And I knew all their music, but I didn't have it memorized. And I'm looking, I'm like, whoa, this is, because that's kind of what happens when I get on stage. And people come to me, they go, man, what are you doing up there? How does everybody know the words of your songs? Like, they're not singles. They're not videos. They're not on the radio. How do you know the words? That's the love from the fans right there. And I remember telling them at one point, we started doing a lot of shows together. I was like, man, I'm gonna go on first, y'all going after me. Like me and Scarface, we had that battle for life. If he sees me right now, he might say that we're on the same show. He's like, man, I don't care if I'm in Houston, Texas, in my own neighborhood. I ain't going on after Too Short. And I'm like, you crazy, man. You be ripping the crowd, you ripping the shreds, and they be tired after you get on stage. I don't want to go on after you. Right. You know what I mean? So we be trying to sneak on, get on first.
Right. So what can we expect from you coming up? What do you have going on?
Well, I just recorded a new album. It's called No Trespassing. It'll be hitting stores top of the year. I'm looking like probably in February something, released somewhere in there. It's not gonna be one of those things where they keep pushing it back because it's an album that's already done. The first single, Money on the Floor, we let it out there, but we're not really gonna start pushing it until after the holidays. Just gonna let it float around on its own for a couple of months and do what it does. See a natural reaction instead of force feeding it to the public. Because right now, if anybody knows about the industry, biggest artists always put their albums out at the end of the year, and the labels put up all the big money at the end of the year, and it's like a smash on everything retail, everything airwaves, everything video. It's a smash with the money, and the big boys, they hogging the limelight for November, December, because everybody knows in November, December, we dig in our pockets and we start spending money. So that's a game they play. So I'm playing the February game, and right now we're gonna let the first single out, shooting a bunch of videos next couple of weeks, and we're gonna leak the videos out and just let it get a little, because it's a tough time now. You gotta really get a presence before you really show your hand. So I'm gonna warm it up a little bit, and it's a really nice album, man. It's not, I can tell you like this, it's not what you think. It's real Too Short, but it's not whatever you're trying to picture. I'm not gonna spill the beans until you hear it, but it's a little bit different for me, but it's still the same Too Short.
Now you were saying that the times have changed and stuff like that. Now, being that you've been in the game for a while, do you think it's changed for better or for worse?
I think it's changed for what it is. There's no such thing as better or worse. This is hip hop, man. And we're doing this thing right now where we're doing a lot of judging in hip hop. I don't like that. I don't like that. Well, you're not supposed to. Just imagine if it was rock and roll or if it was R&B. Are you supposed to like all of R&B, all of rock and roll? We to that point now. Hip hop's been around so long. I mean, come on now. We got too many different styles. Hip hop shouldn't even be called hip hop. Hip hop should be up here, and then it should be all these different subtitles of what kind of rap you like. Because basically, I'm measuring on, this is what I get down on because this is how I came up. I'm measuring on everybody raps and writes these songs and they want to be popular and get money, or they want their music to be loved and listened to, whatever. Who's getting all the spins? Who's getting all the downloads? Who's getting bootlegged the most? Who's getting the most money? Who's doing the most shows? That's the hottest rapper. I don't care what you say about your pen and your bars and who's weak and whack and how you judging, who got this look, wrong haircut, whatever. Who getting the money is winning, and it's been that way ever since this became a business. Now you got connoisseurs of rap. I'm also one of them. I will step outside of my opinion of what I think is the best, and then I'll go, what's the most artistic, what's the best flow? That don't really carry a lot of weight in this game that we in. So, I come up, you could say legendary Too Short, but I come up being told the whole time, your rap's kind of whack, man, you kind of whack. I'm getting these reviews on my albums. It's not really, he's not really a real rapper. This is why I'm going platinum. So I'm kind of immune to somebody hating on a Soulja Boy or, telling me that, the skills ain't there. Because I'm like, man, I'm listening to the Wale's, and I'm listening to, cats like Big Crit coming, and, there's cats out there spitting it. Right. You know what I'm saying? Spitting real venom. But at the same time, you don't have to do that to win. And there's a lot of cats that spit that venom that don't win. There's a lot of cats that spit some real ABC elementary rhymes that do win. So let's just take it as the winners get the money.
Cool, man. Well, I appreciate you coming in. MyColumbusPower.com. Shout out to Flyboy ENT putting it together.